what the island looked like when the Seabees, the Navy's fighting builders, landed and started work. In preparing this island for use by our fleet, the Seabees had two jobs to do. First, clean it up. Then convert it to a base that would function like clockwork. The bulldozers were sent in to clear and level the ground. Work? Yes, 12, 16, and 18 hours a day. That was routine when the job was begun. The base, and particularly the airstrip, had to be placed in immediate operation. Right out in the open, in foxholes in the rain, with bugs and mud. That's where Seabees slept during the mopping up period. A tent on the beach served as headquarters for their operations. The men washed in streams, shaved out of helmets, used blowtorches to cook coffee in cans. On this operation, the Seabees and Marines worked hand in hand. The Marines, as usual, established the beachhead, pushed the enemy back into the jungle, what was left of them. While the Marines took care of their department, the Seabees were at work with their bulldozers. And with the Marines, they set up defenses while construction hummed along. On the airstrip, grading operations began. Bulldozers leveled the earth. Hydraulic scrapers, or carryalls, were busy on other steps in the grading process, scooping up the earth, leveling the surface, carrying the scrapings to other points where they were needed for construction purposes. Cranes were used extensively in preparing harbor installations. The coral they dug was used for roads and runways. The cranes also loaded trucks, from which the bomb craters were filled. Motor-driven graders speeded up the job. A large number of the men who operated this equipment were enlisted for the Seabees because of their previous construction experience, but they all had to be trained the Navy way. The work of the graders is an important job, for upon the precision with which they give the earth its final grooming, the smoothness of the airstrip will largely depend. When the graders were finished, the steamrollers took over. They packed the surface down, made it hard. There isn't much chance of a heavily loaded bomber hitting a soft spot here. While graders and rollers worked on one end of the strip, cranes and trucks operated at the other. This assembly line method definitely expedited the work. With the runway leveled and packed, the airstrip was ready for its steel mat surface. Easily transported, easily assembled, the matting for this strip was completed 2 days ahead of schedule. Men working in teams again employed the assembly line method, a technique which first proved its worth at Guadalcanal, Bougainville, and Attu. The Marines say that when they march into the city of Tokyo, they'll march in on the roads that the Seabees built. The Seabees intend to see that they get there by providing them with airstrips and roads like those built on this base. When the matting was laid and secured, a coating of dirt was spread as filler. The matting was then lifted by means of a hickey to allow the dirt to settle through the openings and level the matting. CB purification units provided safe drinking water. Sometimes urgently needed supplies had to be dropped by plane, supplies that contained replacement parts vitally needed for continuous operation. Equipment was never permitted to bog down. Alongside the airstrip, a CB repair unit worked constantly to keep the gear in tip-top condition. Their job went a lot farther than mere repair work. For instance, these oil drums were stacked high. Once emptied, they might have been discarded, were it not for the uses the CBs found for them. Here the empties were utilized to provide a drainage system for the airport. The top and bottom lids were cut out with a giant pneumatic hammer. With the lids removed, the drums were welded into one long pipe with a diameter of 2 feet. 30-foot sections of pipe were put into position and dropped into trenches. Here the various sections were joined, thus completing the job. Quonset huts, barracks, recreation halls, and warehouses were built by the CBs. Building a base like this also builds healthy appetites. Cooks and bakers worked long shifts preparing the chow. Enough groceries to keep a good-sized family going for months represented just one meal for this galley. Movie night. No loge seats. No girls in the stage show. It didn't matter what was being shown. The theater always played to capacity audiences, rain or shine. Sunday mornings, the CBs met in devout worship, even when they lacked a chapel in which to hold services. The runway was finished. The men greeted the landing of the first plane as eagerly as they would have hailed the launching of a battleship. Fighter, bomber, transport aircraft are now operating from this field. Admiral William F. Halsey, Jr., returning from the Pacific, paid tribute to the CBs who built this base and others like it with these words. On one island, the CBs repaired 2 Jap airfields and built a third. And, if necessary, the CBs will build another island and put 4 or 5 airfields there. The CBs who did this job, who made this possible, have moved forward. They are building new airstrips, new bases, from which we are striking faster, closer, harder, at the heart of Japan.